Saad, take it away.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, evening, whichever part of the world you are. Okay, and welcome to this session about the XGVela operator requirements. I think we just got a fantastic session from Seshu about the XGVela architecture and the progress. In this session, we specifically want to talk about the from the operator community, like how we see to use this XGVela architecture, what are the quick wins, and most importantly, what we have done based on our delivery status of the cloud native functions in 2020. We just trying to define some sort of top requirements. So let's start. First of all, the role or the voice of the operator community with regard to the XGVela, right? As I said that we trying to define some sort of top requirements, especially taking off the early experience on the 5G and pain points during the delivery, because we all know we have some sort of experience with the CaaS and how the CNF, will be operationalized. And then we want to analyze the end-to-end service requirements, right? And earlier, I saw Sashu was speaking something about the slicing management, but we really want from the operator side to define some sort of a greenfield, sweet spot. And there is, some details in the following slides. And then we really want to see the impact of the XGVela, because we see there is a lot of activity happening within the OSM, the ONAP, something on the automation and CI/CD side, and the integration, and most importantly, the hybrid infrastructure management with VNFs and CNFs, right? From the operator community side, we really want to have some sort of targets. One target is obviously to harmonize the architecture based on the requirements and in a more vendor agnostic fashion, because still we see the architecture is more abstract, and if we want to take out in the modular fashion something which is the own app has, right, and trying to deliver it with different vendors from different components from different vendors. I think this is some vision which is still not there, and we want to focus on this. And most importantly, we want to focus on a white paper summarizing all of the key requirements. So based on the feedback I have received from the different operators so far, we find there are two key pain points. The first thing is the enablement of the 5G CNFs and edge applications. As we all know, that the vertical, in fact, there is many verticals, in the enterprise and this, which are looking for the solution on the 5G, and similarly something happening on the edge. But we just know one classical delivery model to package the application to deliver it without any sort of optimization based on the use case. We strongly believe that XGVela, this is the top requirements to give the enough flexibility to the developer to with the tools that can certify, that can verify, and to deliver this requirement. Similarly, we believe that the current architecture of NFV and Mano, right? We earlier have the summary from the Anuket, and we find even the architecture with the CSM, VNFM, and MCIO, with the introduction of the telco PaaS architecture, we think there is some further enhancements will be required. And similarly, we need to focus on the end-to-end use cases. As I said, we find that the current architecture of XGVela is fine to cover the gaps on the PaaS services, but still we want to focus on something to deliver the end-to-end use cases, especially with the mono layer, right? Because this is something I think is more challenging as of now. And in this slide, we're just trying to summarize the current delivery status. As I said, that based on our earlier deployments, based on the classical CaaS solutions, right? We find the first thing is based on the ITSI side, right? We find the containerized specs are still maturing and they are not carrier grade. In a sense that we have to rely on some silo vendor offerings of the CaaS to commercialize the service. And the other main pain point we find is the cloud delivery model. And still we believe that CNFs, based on the applications provided by our vendors, they are not quite nimble enough. So obviously, this is one of the things which XGVela is trying to solve today. Okay, and by defining the telco PaaS, which can be shared between the different applications to make them more nimble. And the other main point is the definition of the telco DevOps or on the automation, right? This is again one of the thing, because we know the classical, all of the CaaS solutions, they support the DevOps model, which they call as the container application development, but somehow it's not matching the telco service requirement, right? And again, the developer or the SDK. When I talk about SDK developer, we are specifically trying to today investigate about the enterprise and verticals, most of which are requesting us the 5G or the private networks, right? How we can, use some functionality in that space. Then testing, I think this is something we have been doing within the ONAP, the end user advisory as well, to try to see how to build architectures or tools which can be shared between VNFs and CNFs at the end of the day. Then again, day two changes. And the last point I think is very important and critical for us as operators, because we have seen that any solution which is built on using adopters or add-ons, over time it converts from a open solution to a silo. So we are trying to define some requirements. Because, for example, let's say today in CaaS, we all know in the cloud, there are a lot of open source related bugs which are not solved quickly. So, but we believe that a feature which is delivered to the telco PaaS over time as the community or the CNCF specs got matured, right? So something will be shifted from telco PaaS to general PaaS and evolved in this fashion. Or at least we should have a way in certification on testing where we can really validate the openness of this platform, right? Because this is something we struggled in the VNF world, and today, even with the deployment with our CaaS, this is something which we find is almost the same experience, if we want to commercialize the service. About the current architecture, I think this is already is quite familiar to most of the folks. I just want to, from the operator side, we have some observation on this, where we want to focus in our requirements, right? The first point, as you can see, the red highlighted slab, right? This is clear that there is a clear definition between the infrastructure and the application, but this we need to benchmark in the form of SLA and KPI, right? I want to say that once the infrastructure want to deliver something to the application or vice versa, right? There is a clear SLA or the KPIs through which we can validate and certify the application is based on their characteristics and user requirements. Then again, one of the top pressing issue today is that even if we are building the CaaS, right, it has to evolve to the hybrid scenario, which has to support VMs, right, like the Qubit or other scenario. So the testing should cover that. And the most importantly, in the telco PaaS today, we find the characteristics on the testing side, or how we are going to manage it, it's missing. So somehow we want to include these requirements based on, our experience till now. In the following slide, we're just trying to prioritize some of the requirements, top 7. And because in the next slide and the paper, I just want to elaborate quickly. We just want to structure it in this fashion. The first thing, which is the top requirement from our side, is the fast development. So XGVela should support our vision where we can, I should not say developer, but maybe fast customization of the 5G service and edge service based on the vertical or end user requirements, right? And hybrid network management is obviously most important to achieve the vision of the common and shared infrastructure. And then the CI/CD. Today, this is, I think, is quite a gray area. And initially, we have this feeling that with the CaaS coming, because we all know the IT and container world, and we have some very mature, agile, and CI/CD pipelines and processes. But the 2020, our experience, we find that because there are many hooks or the boundary points, right, beyond which, for example, we are just trying to apply CI/CD on the provisioning and the configuration on the infrastructure, but somehow the templates on the application side, I mean, they are not well integrated in the form of CI/CD. So somehow this is, again, it's very important for us if we have to move toward the agile delivery, right? And then I think the fourth is very clear integration with the live environment. And similarly, the logging. Today, we think we have a mature solution on the hardware infrastructure management, but we see the end-to-end service, right? This is something we really want to see. And testing and the O&M requirements, especially when we see the verticals and different use cases. I think this is one of the direction where we want to see. And what we are right now doing, we are just trying from the operator side to list down some of the requirements. Instead of, because I think it's not very clear, I just want to go to the white paper. We are just trying to build a base or draft of the white paper. And let me just move to the white paper structure, which we have combined. Okay, so till now, somehow our white paper is aligned with the structure of the slides, what we have explained. I will directly, because this is just some detailed description of the whole summary of whole experience, what we have observed so far in our 5G journey. And here I just want to take few minutes to go through some of the requirements, what we are. First of all, we find the automatic service delivery, especially when we talk about the application scaling or, this scenario, somehow most of this somehow we think are covered in the telco PaaS or the XGVela requirements, but some are obviously, we could not find in the architecture document. Then telco DevOps, the tool integration by XGVela.
Sorry, Saad. We are only seeing your slide, heading slide, not anything else.
Sorry, just wait.
You may need to click the enable editing button up there in PowerPoint to enable you to share everything properly.
Yeah, just
sometimes that happens.
Now you can see my the white paper.
Not really.
Sorry.
I think suggestion is to enable that editing option and
just
share again.
Choose the document.
Now is okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is some base structure of the architecture and operator requirements. Here, as I explained, we are just trying to, it's some details of the overall scenario. It's a quite detailed fashion. It's somehow covering the same point. I just want to emphasize on the requirements, what we are trying to build. And as we can see, I just want to focus on something which we find, which I could not find in the architecture document till now, right? For example, as I explained about the CI/CD and telco DevOps, and similarly the life cycle management of the complete telco service. As I explained that today, the scenario what we are facing is that even within the traditional CaaS, right? If we need to scale service, the scaling of the pod is quite automatic, right? But somehow, if we want to bring the service and to balance the service and to make sure it's KPI, somehow this is quite a tedious task. So as I said, somehow we need to integrate the XGVela with the other standards on the orchestration on own app side to see the end-to-end use case or service requirements. Then we have some requirements on the logging and observability, okay, and especially on the tracing and the logging side. And workflow management, again, this is something related to the telco DevOps, and testing is a pressing issue for us today because with the CaaS and the PaaS, with a lot of changes on the infrastructure, right? So we really want to solve this issue through some common tools or functionalities within the telco PaaS that can be shared across the different CNFs. Then about the common hardware infrastructure management. As I told today, if we see the NUCAT and CNTT specs, right, we already are solving this issue today. But when we really need to see when the whole architecture is based on containers and VMs are supporting on containers, right? How the XGVela or PaaS features will be supporting it. Then again, the hardware acceleration, this is something, especially in the context of the vRAN and the edge applications, we really want to emphasize on this because somehow the pass-through technologies on containers, right? We think that needs more modular and more open. You know, today it's happening, but obviously, you know, this is for example, in terms of if we enable the pass-through on containers today, we cannot have a adequate monitoring and logging of this, or observability is an issue. So somehow this is one of the things we have captured. Then we think the API definition as of now, it's not quite matured, especially on IFA and SOL. And I think that's already it is doing a lot of work on this, but somehow as of based on, I mean, the delivery status this year, at least we can say that this is something we need to accelerate. And cross-industry integration, I think this is quite evident that because actually, especially from the operator side, as we see, we don't want, because you see already we have some thing happening in infrastructure and orchestration now with XGVela, another layer is coming, right? So even before XGVela, we find when we try to bring up a case to the community with end-to-end, right? Because this is very simple requirement from operator, right? Because let's say if somebody is talking about the automation, it's just infrastructure and the view of the application is not there, or at least if the two are not integrated, the framework is not there, right? So from the end user side, still there is a lot of manual things and issues. So I think that is something we need to pay more attention as the architecture grows mature. And then on the EMS side, we all know this is something still in the CaaS. Each application is coming with its own EMS, and somehow we believe Telco PaaS will give us a capability to replace this within the common functionality in the Telco PaaS. And somehow we want to see, at least we want to see a new vision of the HC NFV architecture, which is quite more nimble with less boxes, you know. Anyways, this is just a wish list, you know, I'm not sure how it will move. And then service packaging and onboarding. Today, what is happening that we all know the alignment of the VNFDs and NSD, because we are just relying on the Helm packages. We are not taking the CaaS in the form of the complete VNF packages or the flow like this. So we are onboarding and testing use on this traditional classical Helm chart in IT. So somehow I think some work needs to be further focus on this part. And integration, I think this is quite evident, right? Because we have invested heavily on the NFVI infrastructure and CaaS. Now with the telco PaaS and other enhancements, we really want to see that the earlier integrations are remaining intact, and they are I mean, there should be no impact on the commercial service and this scenario. Hybrid network management, and then the telco PaaS handshake. I think this is again some observation, because as we can see that till now there is a lot of work happening within CNCF as well, and the vision for us for the add-on in the CNCF is through the CRDs and the operator framework, as we all know, right? So somehow we think that telco PaaS all these functionalities, right? The vision is it should be supported by different vendors, all of these functionalities, and this should be open and swappable, right? So as of now, from a requirement side, what we think, for example, right, if we want to swap a vendor, right, we build a CaaS platform. Now we are swapping. Today for CaaS, we all know it's one or nothing, right? We have to do the complete swap of the CaaS layer. For the telco PaaS, right, we think the module should be in a way where we are able to select our different component from different vendors, and it is going to work. And the last thing is, this is something happening already. I think there's a lot of progress, because we see some of these modules and work is already happening within the conformance and the RI2, and we really want to see a vision how this XGVela we will validate and certify. Especially we need to consider the fact that in 2020 already we have some CaaS commercial service, right? So somehow it will not be possible to build a new platform. We have to see how we can introduce PaaS, and how you know, the testing, validation, and all this process will go on. In terms of use cases, it's quite early phase, but we really think to see the private side of the 5G to do some sort of demo or you know, testing. So somehow this is our requirements or vision so far. And now if you have any question, I think there is something coming in the chat. So because it's just 5 minutes, I just want to focus on that.
Hi, Sad. Seju here.
Yeah.
Hi, Sad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. I can hear you.
Yeah, Sad, this great session. One suggestion I have is out of the requirement list which you made, right? Maybe we can come up with a grouping of them on priority basis. Like what to keep. I mean, we can find some buckets where we can actually prioritize those requirements and take one by one, because that will actually pave a path for us to work on. I mean, as I said in the previous session and what we have been discussing in TSA, right? We have to find as to what should be our goal, and that should be common objective. And we have to work towards the operator pain points, isn't it? That's our main goal, which we have to solve as a part of XGVela also. So
yeah,
if you
absolutely.
can yeah, if you can help us to get this thing, and thanks a lot for all the effort you have put. You have talked to multiple operators surely to get this thing done. So if you can actually get as a next step to it, to group them into different buckets according to priority and also dependency. Like for example, first 5G private network is something which is surely required, but I would say first we have to deal with the 5G CNF, right? Isn't that the first step? So we can prioritize them in the dependency, as also bucket them and put them into buckets of priority as well as dependency, and then take one by one, so that we can take agile mode.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I will take it. Yeah,
sure.
I will start to do this. Yeah, sure.
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Very good session.
And great session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, is there any question or feedback? Because still, you know, this XGVela thing is somehow it's an early phase because you know, the thing is this. We really want to see it, how to commercialize this, you know, what are the gaps, how we can, because there is a risk of some duplication with the operator existing deployment on CaaS, right? Because even if you see the traditional CaaS roadmaps of the vendors, right, we see that even some of the telco PaaS functionality is coming in their roadmap. So somehow over analysis shows that I think this requires some more focus on the specification requirements and in a modular way, So I think there should be a lot of questions, right? I am sure,
That's a quick question. Is the intent of XGVela to concentrate on the telco PaaS layer or the general PaaS layer? Because in the white paper, there seems to be a mix of things, but in the architecture diagrams, there is a clear delineation. So.
Yeah, because if you see the early session on XGVela, it was clearly told that our focus is on telco PaaS, right? Because CaaS is something already there, right? But in architecture, overall, all layers are shown, but the focus is on telco PaaS. Correct me, I think Sanjay or...
yeah, that is correct, Sath. And Pankaj, good question. Yeah, focus for XGVela is telco PaaS, definition, design, and implementation. At the same time, from an operator's point of view, we want to identify different use cases and operator needs and requirements. And we do see, as you can see in the architecture diagram, there is an yellow box that talks about adaptations towards the general PaaS, because general PaaS will be open source and de facto standards driven as we see it, and there could be multiple distributions or adaptations across different operators and environments. So we do see those needs. So the idea is to capture all the requirements and have cross community dialogues to kind of establish an end-to-end flow that is consistent for the operators across the
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We do need to identify the general PaaS requirements from an operator's point of view, so that those can be we can build necessary adaptations or mainly the adaptations, so that there could be a consistent environment for the applications to run on.
So from the Anuket perspective, there is a session tomorrow morning or tomorrow at 1300 UTC, which deals with that general PaaS. It's a start project. Saad, about it, for others on this call.
Yeah.
There's a session tomorrow morning, or tomorrow morning my time, but tomorrow 1300 UTC on the general PaaS, if you will.
Right.
And I think it will be good.
And to back up Pankaj, I think, what we probably want to do is avoid rework, right? Yeah. So, if we've got the general PaaS, sort of work going on Anuket, it would, I think, be great if XGVela were able to sort of, either contribute directly to that and subsume it and build the telco PaaS, sort of requirements on top of that, so they don't have to be restated, right? They can import it in, and focus on, what I think you've identified as a very important area, but not you can move faster in that important area, with importing in, sort of that work, and our pool of resources can sort of be directed and managed in such a way that we get the most out of it.
Yeah. So Heather, to your point, both Shashu and Saad, you also mentioned that you will feed requirements to general PaaS. So I think that would be a great area of collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Sandeep. Just one thing. Yeah, so actually, Pankaj, that's exactly what I was about to say, that to answer to Heather's this thing, yes, we are looking into different ways in which we can actually extend our help and also take help from other open source communities, especially around the testing and validation part of it, where Anuket also comes very handy. And main thing is we have a very tight coupling with, or tight dependency, I would say, with general PaaS. So anyone who could actually help us with that would be a great welcome to start with, right?
Yeah, everything you're going to build in telco PaaS will rely on feature components from general PaaS.
We are actually building a PaaS itself, though we are calling it telco to make it a requirement specific. At the end of the day, we are building a PaaS. So anything which comes from general PaaS would be required for us for sure, right? To put it simple, isn't it?
So, can we take an action item to have this talk with Anuket team? And,
yeah, I think we can actually find a lesson. Saad seems to be the right guy because he's already part of Anuket. So we can actually find a license for this. And Saad, you can actually help us to take these requirements across the boards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Actually, offline we're also already trying to analyze it, to see, because as Pankaj is saying that we are trying to initiate this there. So yeah, I will analyze and I will try to, take it. Yeah.
Maybe we can even have some collaborative meetings where, it would be good to thresh out the scope and the working relationship.
Yeah, Pankaj, you see, this is we have some limitation currently because in XGVela right now we are in a phase where we are trying to list down in the sort of specs or some requirements, right?
True.
Till now, even our architecture is a little vague. So my last time suggestion to Sandeep and team was we want to kick off this thing, to build this requirement or something which we can then see how we can integrate or work together with Anuket. So this is my opinion on this.
Right, Saad. And Pankaj, to start with, actually, we have done the same with NGMN last month, where we had a private session, apart from our TSC and this thing, we had a dedicated session where we also invited NGMN to have some collaboration discussions. We can do the same for Anuket too. That will help us to see how we can progress further as to, what could be our common bridge platform where we can actually discuss further. How can we monitor each other's progress and accordingly modify our goals, right? That should be a cumulative effort. Surely we can do.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Saad, thank you very much. Great presentation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Saad. So you'll be also publishing the white paper in the board, right? Just to reconfirm. Saad?
Yeah, about white paper, still we want to bring more operators and thing, because the fact is till now I just got, I think we in the next meeting we try to discuss to set some timeline about this white paper, because till now except China Mobile, I don't get a lot of traction from the operator community. So that's the situation.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care now.